Are you ready? We are. This is Real Politics.
Mic's off. I can't hear.
Your mic's off.
Thanks. You see, I muted myself, and there you go. Hey guys, we have with us. Welcome everybody. We forgot to do the overlay, but it's okay. We'll do the overlay next time, and then do it the way it's supposed to be. Welcome back, Cruz Quintana, our buddy, our friend, our savior. Because you've been under the weather for how long? 3 weeks or something now?
3 weeks, taking care of the wife as well.
Like it's been horrible without you, Cruz. But we bring you back, and now you have to replace Miss Producer because she's under the weather now. It's like it's just a cycle of life or whatever. So welcome, Cruz. Welcome back. We have with us Myra Gutierrez. Hey, Myra.
Hi.
And our super special guest today is Tim Wilkins. Tim Wilkins is a candidate for city commission in McAllen, Texas, the great city of McAllen. And he's running for District 1, which is a part of McAllen. So, Tim, tell us about yourself and as we welcome people in with their comments.
Sure, yeah. So this will be my second attempt at District 1. I ran 3 years ago, more or less, to fulfill Richard Cortez's unexpired term. Obviously, he became the county judge. It was a very hotly contested race. I lost that in a runoff to Javier Villalobos, who's now running for mayor. And in these strange times, you know, I just have the desire, the fire more than ever to want to be involved. I've been involved a lot on offense with things with the end defense, publicly and privately. I was born and raised here. I've got a family of 3 boys that are 6, 4, and 2, happily married for quite some time. And, you know, just want to give back and try to make sure that the city doesn't make any missteps or get itself into any trouble in a post-COVID economy where I think we're going to have an awful lot of challenges, even more so than what we've seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bring in the comments, Cruz. I've already asked you to bring in the comments a couple of times already in the private chat. Thanks. Hey, Madi, how you doing?
Hi, Madi.
We want to welcome everybody in. Please let us know your comments and questions for Tim so that, this is a different show, Robert. This isn't, I don't appreciate your comments. Right? Thanks. Remove his comments, please. Thanks. I really don't appreciate Robert for you saying that. Can you please remove his comment, Chris? Thank you. I mean, it's just, this isn't what this is about. This is the interview with Tim, giving him an opportunity, as we are with any local candidates that are trying to run for political office. And that's what we'll be doing, is interviewing Tim. I am, just in case, Robert, you don't understand this concept, I am the main host of the show. So being able to interview people and asking the main question, that's my job. And if you have a question for Tim, please feel free to ask him, and we'll be sure to read your question. Tim, you've run before for political office, running for, hey, Lorena, nice to see you. Nice to see you as well. Running for political office is different. What do you think you've learned from the first time you ran for District 1 versus and being willing to run again? What have you learned and you're going to take into this particular race?
So the first time around, I was very well aware of the region's voter apathy, the lack of the turnout to vote, as well as McAllen has a severe problem with it. So the first go around, I got creative and I had a plane come in and fly my logo over the city, and was trying to see if, with a little bit of outside the box thinking and a little extra money, see if I could get people engaged, energized, turned out, interested. And I wound up spending a good bit of money on that race. I didn't use any consultants, and at the end of the day, when we got to the runoff, the turnout still came in kind of right around normal.
All right.
And that was disheartening, because in this day and age with social media, and with the push of a button, your opinion can be in millions of people's hands, and people take advantage of that almost daily. But when it comes time to putting some people in office that can actually impact your daily life at a local level, a lot of times people are just too busy, or they don't vote. And that was a big eye opener. It was a big turnoff. I lost for that reason. There's, when you have a lower voter turnout, efforts to turn out votes via mail-in ballots, driving people to the polls, the things that politiqueros are famously known for, those efforts, the power of those are magnified when you have a lower voter turnout. If you only have 1,000 people voting and you can manufacture 100 votes, that's 10% of the vote right there. So I want to try to do everything I can to get voter turnout increased, into the 30-40% range at a minimum, and that's still low. But doing that will mitigate any of these efforts that are utilized that are, I guess, below board, so to speak. I also saw the dark side of all the social media, these fake Facebook profiles, anonymous mail things sent. There's a whole lot of people within our city, but most of them are outside of the city limits that do this stuff. They get paid to do it on the side, and I got a little caught up into some of that last race because it was so deeply personal. Now that I understand, it's just kind of one of the dirty functions that some of these people like to utilize. I'll have a more polished, I guess, mechanism or I guess polished. I can't think of the term I'm looking for. I guess a tactic to just ignore that more, but it's still going to be present. And that's one of the downsides. You're throwing yourself out here, taking time away from your family, your loved ones, and you're pursuing something that you care for deeply. And to have people that are tuning in get I guess impacted a little bit by the negative stuff that has no basis in fact. It's unfortunate. Little comments. What just happened at the start of your show? That little comment was minor, but it's annoying. And
no. Robert Robert is a friend of mine. He just likes to be annoying to me. And Robert has a really good question that's coming up for you in a second. I'm like on the side. I'm thinking
he's a regular to the show.
He's regular. He's actually the manager.
I didn't know, but
no, it's okay. No,
one of the things I'm really trying to push is, even if I don't prevail, which I hope I do, I've been a conservative my entire life, more of a moderate conservative. I think there are problems with both parties, on the fringe of both parties. And I think one of the things that's been lost with all this technology and just the past couple decades of people is they've lost the ability to converse, have a conversation with somebody, disagree respectfully, and still be friends at the end of it. So I step into challenges instead of backing away from them. And one of the things I look forward to doing, especially right now with all the heated nonsense that's happening coast to coast, is on a local level, get involved with some of these people who think every conservative is a demon. and let them know that, hey, man, we can be sensible, we can be reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
We're not all radical, and we can admit that, maybe Trump did some things or said some things that probably shouldn't have done, but did it.
Yeah.
And
And that's one of the biggest fights that I have here kind of daily is that just because we are Trump supporters doesn't mean that we agree 100% with them. It's just, I mean, we're not going to agree with a person 100%. We give and take.
But and where that really becomes important to me is, so part of this quote unquote cancel culture that's kind of taken hold, and everybody talks about fairness and equality and all this, but it's only if you agree with me. We're not going to be equals, or we're not going to tolerate people unless you 100% agree with me, and then everything's fine. If you don't agree with me, I want you to have any platform you use to converse to be shut down. Any news channels you use for, information, I want that shut down. And I want to completely dispose of a whole half of our political system because we don't agree with you.
Yeah.
And I just think it's dangerous. And we're in the middle of that happening right now with Parler and all that other stuff. And I think it'll work its way out. But one of the things where I think the Democrats have lost an opportunity here, I mean, the extreme Democrats, is they're holding on and laying the blame of what Trump did on everyone, instead of realizing that, hey, I don't remember all of the conservatives laying blame at the feet of every Democrat when Antifa was burning down Oregon and Minneapolis and all these other places that were happening nationwide. But it is what it is. But this race is a nonpartisan race, and I expect, I want to say, opponents to try to change the narrative into one of, maybe he's a Trump supporter or he's a conservative, and try to make it a partisan race, because we're in a heavily Democratic pocket, just period, the way the region has been historically. And there's a lot of people that if they just hear Republican, they won't vote for somebody, period.
They just turn it off.
But one of the good things that you've done with this program and what's been happening with other organizations is that the Hispanic, I guess, nucleus here in this area has been more willing and more open to engage. And they've realized that, hey, maybe we are a little bit more conservative, moderate conservative than we've been publicly in the past. And people are feeling more comfortable to come out, engage, converse, show up to rallies and meetings and support people. So there's a really good surge going of turnover. And I think the Valley as a whole will be a whole lot better if there's dual representation here, as opposed to just one party, by way of candidates, by way of legislative support from state and federal government, all that stuff. I mean, nothing bad can happen if you have an engaged community. Yeah. So stepping away from the partisan type issues, that is kind of what I want to bring to the local level, is, bring some type of solidarity and calm and resolve and a steady hand, where we're going to impact people's daily lives. The chance of us impacting state and federal elections really are slim to none. And by the time we actually get something accomplished, it's going to be 4, 5, 6 years down the road. And our backyard is what matters. And I don't want to move. I want my children to, grow up here. I want them to want to live here when they become my age and want to work here and all that. So I've got a vested interest in trying to make sure my city, makes it through these bad years successfully. And I'm willing to sacrifice my time to do it.
We are with Tim Wilkins, who is the McAllen City Commission District 1 candidate. There are other candidates that are running for office. We here at Real Politics are inviting candidates one by one, but if you know a candidate that's running for office, whether McAllen or Farr or Harlingen or any other local cities that are running local elections in May, let them know about our program, ask them to message the page, and we'll be happy to try to schedule them for our new time slot, which is 8 o'clock. We are no longer doing our 7:30 shows as we had been in the past. We're now doing 8 o'clock. We've noticed a trend of an increase of viewership around 8 o'clock as opposed to doing it at 7:30. So that's why we're moving our time slot. So Tim is our first guest at 8 o'clock. Cruz, you have a question for Mr. Wilkins.
Yeah, Tim, can you give us a general sky view of the geography of District 1 for the city of McAllen, for those of us that are not familiar with the area?
Like the boundaries?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so McAllen's got some really weird district lines set up. District 1 essentially starts on Nolana and the east side of 10th up to say Jackson, and it goes all the way north to Monte Cristo, where you have, you know, like your Tres Lagos development and all that. And as you come back, you know, it encompasses some parts of Ware Road, but it kind of jogs inward to 23rd, then 10th, as you get to Nolana. I wish it was a square box where I could define, you know, Nolana to Jackson, Jackson to 10th, and 10th to Monte Cristo, but it's got about 15 or 16 different turns in it.
Right.
But it's basically northeast McAllen.
And for those of us who are, maybe those of you that are watching from McAllen or don't understand the system of city commission, you all have how many members of the city commission? Are the district only, or the mixed member district and at large?
There's six. There's 6 districts and your mayor.
And the mayor. So it's an odd, just so you know, like in Harlingen, for example, they only have 5 district commissioners and a mayor. It's an even number thing. So I'm glad to see that McAllen does that. And I also noticed that on your ballots, for whatever reason, you all actually vote for your PUB, your Public Utilities Board representatives. What is your feelings on voting for these type things as opposed to having a city commission or mayor or a city manager appointing these particular positions on PUB? McAllen.
Well, to go to the makeup real quick, and then I'll address the PUB question. One of the platform issues of mine is I want to see McAllen add 1 or 2 at-large positions to the commission, mainly just for representation's sake. There, you know, my District 1 winds up being one of the more developed, new development, lots of higher-end residential homes. You know, the movers and the shakers wind up living here. That means, you know, your interested pool of leadership tends to all congregate in this area, or a large part of it. So you wind up having 3-4 people want to run every time there's a spot open. And, you know, a lot of these people are good people. And if you have, you know, people want to sacrifice their time to get engaged, you know, having an at-large spot would be warranted. So you can always have that purge valve to take in some talent if somebody wants to run for it.
Right.
On the PUB issue, I think the more voice you give to your constituents, the better off you are. So I'm fine with the fact that they elect PUB members in an election. Those guys do a pretty important job that most people aren't really even aware of, even though they use it every day when they brush their teeth and turn on the water. One of my opponents is on Public Utility Board.
Right.
So you know, he'll be able to tell you more about what he does and what he brings to the table with that experience. But you know, I think the more voice you give constituents, the more you take out of elected officials' hands who might have inclination to do things for self-interest or you know, self-dealing, which happens a lot of times down here. You mitigate that, take that away. It's better for everyone.
Okay. Robert is, by the way, where I bought my shirt at, the shirt I'm wearing at. He is the manager of the Dallas Cover Pro Shop in Brownsville. There's hyper competition between the Dallas Cover Pro Shops in both Brownsville and McAllen, I think. And so he understands a lot of sales needs and whatnot here in Brownsville. And the economy there in McAllen is very much needed to have high sales dollars, I'm assuming, in order to grow and be able to have a large budget. But he's asking the question of what is something you are going to do differently this time around. He has relatives that live out by Trenton and 22nd Street.
So one of the big mistakes I made last election was I was extremely vocal against the UTRGV medical school payments that are $1 million every year. And at the time, my rationale for that was I was hearing from the police and fire unions that there were requests for officers, more additional officers, so they could maintain their coverage ratios. There was, you know, requests for pay, compensation, and whatnot that was not being tended to. But here we were giving this money to the University of Texas school system, and at the time, you know, I thought that it was just something I was against, and it wound up being a mistake for these reasons. You know, investing in that medical school, even though University of Texas system really doesn't need our $1 million due to their large endowment, but us putting that token of support in there fosters goodwill, fosters support, creates awareness of what's going on. And that medical school is the type of thing that we really need to have in here in our area for economic development. You know, you're seeing that with COVID, you know, we were shut down essentially for a whole year, and sales tax just gets devastated. And when you have a city, you know, cities don't make money like a normal business does. They're not governed by private capitalist principles. They do things that lose tons of money. You know, having a police force loses tons of money. Giving everybody water and sewer services loses tons of money. That's why you have all these taxes to pay for those services. But going forward, you know, I think if McAllen embraces what it is instead of what it wants to be, and we focus on commerce within our city boundaries, then we generate that traffic every day, people coming in to work. You generate transactions, you generate rooftops, you know, families moving in where people want to live closer to work instead of further away. And it just creates an economic foundation that makes us safer. You know, historically, we were protected by our presence to Mexico. You know, their shopping power coming over here to go to the mall and shop was massive. Their bridge traffic generated revenue, but civilian traffic's pretty much been stopped ever since COVID started. It's only commercial traffic. So here you have, you know, the mall, which was our biggest sales tax producing engine, that's crucified right now. And it may continue to be that way for some time. So we've got to diversify and make sure that we've got things operating and being developed to protect us. Otherwise, we're going to have a really hard road ahead. And then those are a lot of the things I want to focus on. Economic development's a big thing I want to focus on.
Let's go to a couple of the comments, Cruz. So, hello, everyone. It's good to have Cruz back, finally. We missed him so much, you have no idea. I agree with you, Tim. Great. Yeah, it's always good to have agreement. Next. Awesome. Hey, Adrian, how you doing? Awesome job. Our Hidalgo County GOP chairman, welcome. I'm agreeing with you. Awesome. Great job, Lorena. Hey, good evening, Real Politics. Hey, Chelsea, hopefully we'll have you on soon. Chelsea is suffering some of that suspension kind of stuff that's happening over on Twitter, and I'm not happy about it. Chelsea, unfortunately, has been suspended from it, and she posted about it, and I think it's very, very important that we don't support that kind of a cancel culture. So I'm glad that she's here watching us. Timothy, thank you for taking steps to represent the people of your district. That's awesome. What goals do you have for your district when you are elected commissioner?
So I want to see McAllen focus on our quality of life issues. You know, you've seen with COVID, everybody's been locked at home for months at a time. One of the good things McAllen's done historically is they focused a lot on these walking trails and parks and stuff that they've developed over time. But there are some projects still that are in a state of incompletion, and it would be beneficial to get them online, expand what we've got on the public park department, so people have things to go utilize when you can get outside, get outdoors. Traffic is always an issue in McAllen, and 3 years ago, what I was talking about was synchronizing the streetlights in your main corridors. As you go east and west and north and south on certain main streets, if you're hitting it at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. and 5 o'clock, you feel like you're in downtown Houston. And, if you synchronize lights, it's software and it is expensive. But if you're going the speed limit, you can make sure that a massive percentage of those cars make it through that green light, and you just speed up traffic flow. They started implementing some of those types of things in certain areas of town after my race. I honestly think some of that stuff may have been being discussed while my race was going on, but there's a lot more that can be done in that regard. There are still a lot of drainage issues. For example, you have like Ware Ridge that has been flooding and all kind of issues due to drainage. And there are some projects, I think, that have been budgeted to alleviate those. They've got to go in and actually increase the drain line, which is going to be a pretty hefty task. But, it's 2020 in the city of McAllen. We shouldn't have any of our incorporated areas having severe drainage issues. We've got the money, we've got the infrastructure, we've got the ability to make sure it doesn't happen. And when it does, it needs to be a very forceful, fast fix. So I want to see the city focus on those core city services that they're required to do. It's what your city is required to do.
Right.
The next thing is going to be, like public safety. Our public safety has been pretty good, but there's always room for improvement. And in this day and age, with just people's inability to even have a disagreement, and it turns into a riot and a protest, and people clashing against each other, that creates a real danger for just innocent bystanders. I saw a very aggressive event on 10th and Nolana, and that's a major strip center there during the election, the national election.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's people just walking by with their families can get sucked into something and completely, unrelated to anything they've done, but they're in a problem. There's been a lot of car theft. There's been a lot of activity from the southern side of our border that comes over here and creates some problems. So I really want to see McAllen beef up its police department to make sure that when the criminal element is trying to, brainstorm on where they want to go, we're going to have so much pressure on our area that they're going to realize it's easier to go somewhere else to do whatever it is they want to do. And that's really the best you can do in a public safety scenario. The other thing that's dangerous, it's a catch-22, but you don't ever want to boast about we're the safest city in the nation. We were number 5 on this list, wherever it is. And sometimes you'll see the local leaders do that because to them it's a talking point that they they think is, I guess, supportive of their efforts. The problem I have with that is in this day and age, you've got a lot of crazy people, just individuals. And when you tell somebody that you're the safest city in the nation, or you're number 5 on whatever list it is, the wrong person sees that and they may think, hey man, that's a target. I want to go make a statement and take that place out. And so you got to be careful about how you position, what you do and how you tout it. In my perfect world, we would undertake all these efforts, and 15 years from now, you look back and say, wow, man, we had a really long period of really safe times, not a lot of crazy things happening, and you just realize it after the fact, not something you talk about as it's occurring. And you can't stop these lone wolf people if they're dedicated to creating mayhem. So that's just the public safety aspect of it.
Can I a couple of things. One, I'm amazed that one of the issues that you have is synchronization of streetlights. So those of us that live in Brownsville, that's a massive complaint in the city. So it's great to see that you all have the same sort of issue that we have in Brownsville, because there seems to be some sort of Napoleon complex between Brownsville always comparing itself to McAllen. Well, there's a comparison. We're the same. We're here with Tim Wilkins. He's running for City Commission, District 1 in McAllen. Again, McAllen is one of our largest cities, a major hub in the Rio Grande Valley. So it's great to have him here. We'll have Javier Villalobos, who current city commissioner from District 1, who's running for McAllen mayor, with us tomorrow at 8 o'clock, our new time slot here at Real Politics. And again, if you have any people that are running for office, friends or elected officials running for re-election, or candidates that are running in May, let them know about our page. Have them message our page, and we'll be happy to have them. Myra, do you have a question for Mr. Wilkins?
Earlier you mentioned about the biggest spending when you ran the first time. It was for the university. What do you think is our biggest problem in our budget right now, where we're spending, kind of wasting money in the city of McAllen?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question. McAllen has a budget larger than the county itself, and it's massive. So there are a lot of things you could look at and say you think could be done better. One example where I met you, this is
that's where I was at. Yeah,
the illegal immigration. So and I guess that's a decent thing to talk about here too. So this is a nonpartisan race, right? That's important to really hammer that to people. But one very big significance of just our geographic location near the border is immigration. And back last year, in April and May, you had 100,000 people a month coming in illegally, and Border Patrol would just drop them off downtown McAllen. And McAllen got itself involved in the process of, feeding, processing a little bit, getting them to the bus station, and shipping them all over the country.
Mm.
When I heard about that, I actually went and I flew a drone over the facility that they were using for that center. And McAllen had basically blessed this operation. They were involved in it. And they had sewage. They had constructed showers in the parking lot just on wooden platforms, and the sewage was dropping into a storm drain, which was.
So let me just say, Tim, that is in a suburb, in a subdivision. So it was very unsanitary, and it's close to where I live.
And it was maybe 300 yards from one of our largest high schools.
Wow.
Right. So and that's COVID wasn't happening then, but the concern for, your heart goes out to these people when they're traveling through all these countries to come to America. And I understand all that. And you want to try to take care of people and foster legal immigration. But in this case, these people are just jumping across the river, and you don't know what their medical history is. You don't know if they're carrying anything contagious or not. It's not that they're bad people. It's just a legitimate concern. So then to go put that right in the heart of town where raw sewage untreated is running out, water, the trash was piling up about 15, 20 feet high out there. So I aired that footage and got started really, getting aggressive on Facebook to notify people. And part of it was I was totally against it, but I didn't know if anybody else was. And one of the beauties of Facebook was, the persona that I created to expose that issue, it was my name individually, but I was a little bit more forceful with the rhetoric than I probably should have been. But everybody got involved, and ultimately the city stepped away from it. They realized it was something they shouldn't be involved in. McAllen was about to buy a building downtown to convert for this permanent center, which is there now.
Right.
But Catholic Charities ultimately bought it themselves, which is what I was pushing for the entire time, because the charity has its own revenue and infrastructure to take on this kind of endeavor. The city shouldn't do it.
Right.
And this was before COVID. So, that saved the city about $1.5 million that they would have committed to this. And that doesn't include what they spent while they were in operation with, running buses, from here to the Border Patrol Center and back. But that was, I guess that's one of my best shining examples of civic engagement with the city where, they make mistakes from time to time, and they made a big one there. And with everybody's public support, it was acknowledged, it was stopped, and it was modified. But it's still relevant because you've had the office of the president, the House, and the Senate all flip sides recently. And they are all staunchly opposed to any immigration efforts that the previous president was doing. Forget about Trump. What I think is going to be coming down the pipeline, though, is if they relax a lot of the restrictions that we had that kind of put a cap on this to now, it's going to open back up again.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to deal with this again. And one thing we learned is that, the federal government is slow to respond if they ever do. And what that means is that we spend our money, our resources, our time, risk ourselves to deal with this problem on the hope that they're going to do what they should do. And a lot of times they don't. Now, they did reimburse the city. The feds did a little bit of money for what the city undertook to do, but it's nowhere near just compensation for the risk that they took with the first responders and people they had in place to deal with all this stuff. So I'm totally against that. And one thing I want to see the city do is use foresight as opposed to hindsight. And what I mean by that is it likely that this problem is going to present itself again? Yes, it's very likely that this problem may present itself again. Are we going to be prepared to handle it and have some mechanisms in place to deal with low, moderate, severe surges? How are we going to handle it? Is there a way we can do this and keep it outside of the core of our downtown and impact our residents negatively? I think the answer is yes. And I've got some specific things that we could talk about and how we can do that.
And it's more than just also the financial of it. It's also the security of the residents, because
Sure.
I was very concerned about the security because that's near my running trail. So when I started talking to you that day that I met you, that we did the tour with Ben Burkham, I started learning more about the financial and about, the meeting where you went to the commission, the meeting at the city of McAllen. That's when I started learning about all the money that was spent from the residents of the city of McAllen. and not only the protection of the residents.
Yeah, so it's hard this day and age. You got most everybody works 9 to 5. I mean, in a normal non-COVID world, and when you get home, the last thing you want to do is go sit and delve in and spend an hour learning what your city did today. You don't have the time to do it or the energy. You got to put your kids to bed. You got to feed yourself. You got to live your life. The importance of these elections coming up are, if people will do some vetting, if they'll invest 10, 15 minutes into a candidate and determine, whether or not I want this guy in my living room as my best friend, is he the kind of person that I want to know is fighting for me at City Hall when I'm living my life, and know that he's going to make the ethical, right decisions that I would want to have done, and trust him, or I can just have that on autopilot. And that's how I'm positioning myself. I understand that I ask a lot of questions. I've been aggressive when I need to be, not physically aggressive, but verbally aggressive in certain instances. Because with Facebook, that's another, I guess, a partial mistake I made, in the sense that it was a personal sacrifice to my reputation. But I made some aggressive comments. I did some aggressive things, but I did it in that nature because it generated eyeballs looking at the content, and those eyeballs looking at the content started conversation. And even if it was, man, I can't believe he said that, but he's got a point. And then they're talking about it at a coffee shop or a bar, well, then it spreads. And all of a sudden you've got a movement, and all of a sudden everybody's aware, and all of a sudden we stop it. So now that I've matured a little bit through the usage of Facebook as a weapon, so to speak, I would do things a little bit differently, a little softer in some regards, but my core is still there. When something's wrong, it's wrong, and I'm going to call it out. And one of the big, my campaign slogan is going to be Straight Talk McAllen, because you may not always like what I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to be genuine when I'm telling it to you. And I hope that it's conveyed even through a podcast like this, that the sincerity is there. But in order to get some of these things done, you've got to put some gloves on every once in a while and be able to take a punch and be able to give one. And I'm willing to do that.
Chris,
Tim, hey, Tim, you mentioned the mall, you mentioned tax revenues. The current commission, or the mayor anyways, seems to be a little bit bipolar in that he wants the border open, yet at the same time he wants to close down some businesses and stuff. What do you think about that? Which side of the fence do you fall on?
All right, so I'm going to categorize that into a partisan issue, but I'll answer it. I believe that you ought to be able to go out and live your life. Okay. I think that COVID is a serious thing. I think it's something that we need to be aware of, cautious about, and vigilant against. But I also think that the people that are most susceptible to the extreme cases of COVID, like ICU and death, and all the unfortunate things that have happened, those are people that have comorbidities, that have diabetes, that are overweight, that have cardiovascular disease. And I just don't think that shutting down 100% of our economy is what we did last year for part of the year, in order to cater to a small percentage of people that may have been impacted by it. I don't think that economic cost outweighed the benefit. Now, people are going to say, oh, that's so cold. How can you say something like that? You must want people to die. I don't. But there's no reason why somebody who has some health issues can't take it upon themselves to be extra vigilant, extra secure, stay home, and limit their life so that the benefit of others can go on.
It's self-responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, our whole system will not work if we're catering to 1 or 2%. You just can't. So I own, my primary business, I do property tax consulting. I fight people's property taxes. But a secondary thing I'm involved in is an event center called Sophie's. And I've been right in this fight. My event center sits on 9 acres in South McAllen on 10th Street. And TABC has, through the governor, has changed the laws where unless you're selling food, with an alcoholic beverage, you can't be open. Well, my venue is 95% outdoors. You sit on a picnic table under a mesquite tree and you're 10 yards away from anybody.
Right.
And they've tried to shut us down. And I've told them that, I understand they have a job to do. And I understand that in a black and white world, if you're talking about a traditional, say, downtown bar where it's shoulders and elbows, if you're in it and there's poor circulation in a 90-year-old building, that's one thing. But if you were going to think of a prototype of an establishment that could be open for people to go drink a beer at outdoors on acreage, I'm it. So I don't want you shutting me down just because I don't sell a chicken tender. We don't have a kitchen. So we're in the middle of having a little squabble about that. They've issued us 2, I guess, warnings, but we're probably going to wind up going to the court system to determine, do you really have the ability to tell me that I can't open? And understanding that we've met with an abundance of caution any COVID protocol that exists, but having people outdoors, I don't understand how that's a bad thing. So the other thing I've also noticed is that the bigger you are, the less restrictions you have. So while you couldn't go eat at a restaurant, you couldn't go to a bar, you couldn't go to the movie theater, you could go spend 8 hours in the mall at the food court if you wanted to with your entire family. You could go mill around Lowe's all day long. And it just didn't seem like those things were thought out completely. If you're going to shut things down, shut it all down. You can't selectively pick winners and losers. And it's just a problem going forward. But I would rather see the city out of everybody's business. Now, if the governor gives an order that needs to be enforced locally and there's sense behind it, or it's open to some type of interpretation, then yeah, let's discuss it. But right now, it's not making much sense.
Robert asking, as a law enforcement reserve police officer, what do you plan to help improve McAllen's police department?
So when I ran last time, McAllen's traditionally had a big issue with turnover. So McAllen Police is usually a stepping stone where people go become a police officer, and then a year or two in, once they get some training and some time under their belt, they get picked off by a state or federal agency. Department of Public Safety is a big place where they go. So is Border Patrol. The pay's better. Benefits are better in some cases. So when you look at a situation like that, there is a hard cost in training cadets to enter the police force. There's an intangible cost, in my mind, of good police officers with experience. They're under immense pressure. There is exponential amount of crazy scenarios that they can be thrust in at a moment's notice. And the more time they have served, the more they've seen, the more they know how to react appropriately to certain situations. They can guide others, and you want to cultivate and have more of that. So one of the things I want to do is I want to make sure that our police and firemen are the highest paid people in our region. And I want to make it even more competitive than what the state and federal agencies are offering. That way, these guys can make a good career out of staying here. That pay would be tied with tenure. So if you commit to us, we commit to you. And they're taken care of for their career if they want to stay here. And the upward mobility is there. I don't think you can offer anybody anything better than that. One of the drawbacks has been there's unions involved on both sides, and I was reading this question and it threw me off.
It's okay, no worries. And sometimes we want to put through some of these comments because we want to make sure that people's comments are on the screen.
I'm new to this, so I'm just trying to.
No, it's okay. No, you keep talking. Unless you hear me interrupt, don't worry about it.
The unions, they've all negotiated these employment agreements with the municipality, and they have what's called these Me Too clauses. And the significance of the Me Too is that, if you're going to pay the firemen more, then you also got to pay the policemen more. Right. So in the past, there's been resistance on some of these county the city officials to want to do that because they'll say, well, hey, the Me Too clause, we pay them, we're going to have to pay the others.
Right.
And to me, they're all worth it. And especially now when public safety is such a big concern nationwide. We're lucky that we've been insulated from a lot of the political discourse that's occurred, but it doesn't mean it can't happen tomorrow. And, it's not something you can prepare for after the fact. So that goes back into my public safety segment of, I'd like to see us bolster up all of those efforts to make sure that we're ready. And you know what? If we're over prepared, great. You don't lose anything. But if you're underprepared,
That's when you're
going to have some explaining to do. And that's what I don't want to see happen.
Right.
Tim, the cycle of police work is normal, though. You've got Alamo PD moving to San Juan PD, moving to FAR PD, moving to McAllen PD. So isn't that just a natural cycle of
I'm talking more about the officers. Back when I interviewed the police chief and the other security experts, they were talking about it was about 10% of the force, rotated every year to a different agency. If it's interlocal, I don't see as much of a big deal because you're still going to have that presence of mind with issues and people that present themselves as problems that require law enforcement assistance in the area. So if somebody's coming from Mission to McAllen, fine. Edinburgh to McAllen, fine. FAR to McAllen or vice versa, I get it. But what I wanted, the big thing that I saw was that they were leaving for pay-related reasons and I guess increase opportunities for growth. And you were losing a lot of veteran officers to do that. And I'd like to try to retain some of them if that's something that's possible. Now, I could be off in what I'm saying. This is the way it was on the ground a couple of years ago. And from what I understand, it's still the same. But, pay is important.
Yeah. Can we go into some of these comments if that's okay? 10th Street and DHR area flood. It's true. Next, FAR police just opened a mental health unit inside their department. Is that something you might consider for McAllen?
Sure. So, I think one of the things where some of the police, our departments have been, I don't think that the city historically has always offered up anything and everything they can for the help that they need. So something like that, mental health for police officers, certainly. You don't know when you're going to need it. Thank God we haven't had any major traumatic events here, but you need to have things like that set up. You have had in McAllen recently a spate of, there's been some officer fatalities responding to domestic disturbances.
Right.
Okay. And that's terrible, but it's preventable to a degree too, and I think there's things that can be done to mitigate those things from occurring. And having mental health like that doesn't mean only for department people. It can be for citizens as well. Assessing problematic people. I dare say profiling. I mean, if somebody's got a propensity to be violent, profiling is a taboo term. But hell, I mean, you need to keep track of somebody that is got a propensity to be that type of person, so you're aware what you're stepping into. If you've got to go out there again, an officer's life isn't worth it just because we didn't keep tabs on something that was going on.
Right. So, we're here with Tim Wilkins. He's a city commission candidate from McAllen District 1. If you have any questions for Tim, please feel free to ask. Even if you don't live in McAllen, McAllen is the largest city in Hidalgo County. A lot of us go there for food and buying stuff and going to clubs, I guess. I don't do any of that stuff because I'm a germaphobe. But if you have any questions about McAllen, feel free to ask Tim. We'll more likely have Tim on with us again multiple times from here until May if he wants to come on. And if him and his opponents want to do a forum or a debate between the three of them on our program, we'd be happy to do that at their convenience. Yeah, so I want to do that. Our system is capable of doing it. It's not Zoom. It's pretty decent. As long as you have good internet and you have great internet. We've had some candidates to come on the show that their internet is really bad. As long as you have good Wi-Fi, you're okay. Robert's asking a question. Where do you see McAllen to be like in 10 years?
So when you look at what McAllen has traditionally done, like Tres Lagos was a move by the city because they wanted to try to increase more rooftops. The city is considered to be landlocked, so they went north. But if you actually physically drive out to Tres Lagos, it's Edinburgh School District. It's way north of town. There's not even really a corridor that connects it that seems like you're in McAllen. You just feel like you're in Edinburgh or another area. So that when I say my big campaign slogan is I hold up a donut and I say that, McAllen is the center of a donut, and everything that has developed has gone around the perimeter right along McAllen's city limits. So you have like Top Golf and Main Event and all that stuff in Far right on McAllen city limits. You have a lot of development in Mission right on McAllen city limits. Things in Edinburgh, even most of DHR is in Edinburgh. A chunk of it's in McAllen, but most of it's in Edinburgh. So all these things are just right on our city limits, and it's done that way because they locate there, right on the edge. Our people, get out on those fringes, utilize that, and then come back in. But we're losing the benefit of having all that commerce within our borders. So I want to see McAllen focus on what it is and embrace what it is instead of what it wants to be. So I see McAllen in the future to be kind of like an inner loop of the city of Houston, where you have it as a commerce hub. It's almost a wealth pocket, higher income homes, residents, businesses. It's a heart of a region. And what you have happening right now is, you can buy a hell of a lot more house for $10,000 or $15,000 if you are willing to live in Edinburgh or Mission or Far. And McAllen has a pretty high tax structure, and the cost of land is expensive to even get here. So I actually want to see him look at reducing tax rates. And
that's what I was going to ask you. Do you believe business is fairly taxed in the city of McAllen? I was going to ask you about the taxes.
I think for the most part, most of it, it's fair, but I think all of these taxing entities, what they do is they say, okay, look, we're having financial problems. We spent too much money. Let's tax. It's always more tax. And if they do any kind of tax decrease, it's like, hey, we're going to take a penny off, which, you're going to get an extra $50 in your pocket at something, but it's still nothing significant. I got a real estate degree, and one of the things you study in real estate is inverse relationships of certain market factors. So taxes are inversely proportionate to property values. If you cut property taxes, property values raise.
Right.
If you cut taxes and property values raise, that means your average individual property owner is going to have more money in their real estate, which make it more valuable if they go to sell. It also makes it more worthwhile to redevelop and turn it over. So McAllen has a lot of areas that are older, that are homes on really large lots, that just because of the sheer cost of land, you really couldn't develop in that manner anymore. So as time goes on, what you see in a city like Houston is turnover, and those homes will be torn down, heavily remodeled. And what happens is you've now got a larger property tax base because the home that was 80 years old or 70 years old is now new. It, instead of it being vacant or maybe a rental that is sparsely utilized, it's now got a family in it. And that family is now going to have kids that are going to our schools. And it just creates a whole atmosphere of the growth that we need to be viable as a city. So, I want to see McAllen really put some efforts into rebuilding its core. And there's going to be things that need to be done in conjunction. I talk a lot about like public partnerships. A lot of people aren't aware that, say Mac High, for example, the entire jogging track, the practice field, the tennis courts, that's all a city park, McAllen City Park, in conjunction with the school district. And they've talked a few years ago about this large bond to rebuild some or all of these high schools, and it failed miserably because the price tag was so large. But I think there's things that McAllen could do to cooperate with McAllen ISD to help the ISD to get its infrastructure up to speed, in some cases rebuilt, because our city depends on its school district. Our school district depends on the city. There's a very significant relationship there, and they both exist off of each other. And there's things that can be done to make that even stronger and better. You've got Sherryland is going to open enrollment here pretty soon because their numbers are dropping. McAllen was doing open enrollment because their numbers are dropping, and there's a massive function of funding that comes from the state based on the amount of students you have in your chair. So there's a fight for kids. But at the same time, a lot of people want to go to a new shiny facility, regardless of whether or not the staff inside of it is superior or not. I think McAllen has done a great job with the staff that they have. They've won a bunch of awards. The facilities are the things that need to be retooled and upgraded, and I think things can be done to help facilitate that. But some people might say, well, why aren't you running for school board?
Yeah,
that's just one issue.
Yeah, let's move on to some. Just so you all know, we will be doing rapid fire questions as soon as possible. So, if you have a rapid fire question, feel free to leave us there in the comments, and we'll get to them. We'll do a few more comments a little bit quicker, so that we can get to them because we're a little behind on comments, and I'd like to be able to get as many questions as possible. Next comment, please, Cruz. Well, we'll be praying for you in your business. That's how far behind we are. If they are going to shut the economy again, you should think about close the chain companies and let the local mom and pop business open up. That's a good comment. Tim, Zach Cantu from KURV. Tim Wilkins single-handedly solved the Trenton and 10th bird problem. Have no idea what he's talking about. Give us like 30 seconds about what he's talking about because I have no clue.
That's a little self-deprecation thing. So, North McAllen has a massive problem with these blackbirds that come in and they just destroy with, I guess, feces, the cars, and they poop on everything. So I made a video of myself. It was a serious video. I'm in my suit.
They're there by the thousands.
I'm gonna address the blackbird problem in North McAllen, but while I'm talking, I'm getting hit.
It's a joke. Okay. Video. Okay, great.
They're protesting you.
It was a wide release, and it was more of a self-deprecating thing. It's a serious issue, and it's something that I want to deal with. But some people got a big kick out of it. Some people thought I was crazy for doing it. We were just having some fun, but it's a legitimate issue. It's something. It's a big problem.
The birds were dressed in black. They were Antifa attacking you.
Oh yeah, we will discuss that. The question I'm sure somebody will ask is about what you're thinking of Trump going, I guess, to McAllen or something, because Mayor Darling, hey Sharky, actually had to put up a press release like, we can't keep him out. Sorry, behave, guys.
I can answer that. So I saw a lot of the Democrat powers that be were asking Trump to send asking Mayor Darling to send a letter asking Trump not to come, and they were concerned about large rallies, people not adhering to COVID protocols and whatnot, and they weren't satisfied, to be honest, with Darling's answer of, we can't tell somebody not to come. I understand why Mayor Darling said what he said. I think what the people wanted to hear was more in the line of, we can't keep him out of here, but if he comes, we're going to make sure that we have an increased police presence to make sure that nothing bad happens on either side. If people do try to congregate and get aggressive with each other, we're going to keep them separated. We're going to make sure COVID protocols are being utilized everywhere in public just for people's safety and for our region's safety. So you don't have some riot or protest going on out there with a couple hundred people with no masks on. That's what the people wanted to hear. They didn't get that. And there's a lot of anger based on that. And it's more tied to the events of last week and the things that are going on surrounding the Trump universe. I get what their concerns are, but there's just a lot of anger.
It's two different areas, and it's the magnitude of people. There was just so many people from so many different areas and backgrounds that were at the Capitol. So
Trump, I think he's flying into Harlingen primarily to look at a piece of the wall that's going to be finished. But then I think he's going to take a helicopter briefly to McAllen for something. But I don't think he's going to be driving around town.
Right. Well, and we'll definitely be discussing that tonight on our late show at 10 o'clock, which is our famous late show. Hopefully, some of y'all can join us. We'll have Myra. We'll have maybe Cruz, depending on how he feels. And Brandon Brewer, the former Claiborne County Republican chairman, who's supposed to be joining us tonight at 11 o'clock. We'll discuss anything and everything national politics. But tonight, right now, it's Tim. And I will say that one of the I guess the former Democratic Party chairman, Hidalgo County, made a big stink about it, and it appeared in the Rio Grande Guardian. And I tweeted out very plainly, I frankly don't care what Mr. Godinez has to say about anything. If you go to the delinquent filers list at the Texas Ethics Commission, he owes apparently $13,500. So how about you pay that before you give us your opinion on pretty much anything? Pay the citizens of I guess the citizens of the state of Texas, because it is a commission. Leanne is saying hello. Hey, Leanne, welcome. How can we help you in your election? Janie is asking. We'll do that at the very end, Janie. That's okay. Let's do some rapid fire questions. Okay. Let's do rapid fire and then we'll get to your question, Oscar. That's okay. The rapid fire question is we can just give you random questions, easy peasy kind of stuff. Just whatever comes to your mind. The first one I'm going to ask is Shipley's or Krispy Kreme?
Krispy Kreme.
Really? Wow. You're taking the dangerous con there.
Hey, man, you can't beat that sign when they're hot. I mean, I like Shipley's, but the hot Krispy Kreme doesn't.
I agree. Shipley's only if it's hot.
Now, just anytime during the day, for sure, Shipley's. I don't like the way Krispy Kreme ages, but
no, it doesn't age very well. No, it doesn't.
Right.
All right. Myra is asking. Myra, you can ask the question. You don't have to type it in there.
Okay, well, I thought you wanted it. Country or rock?
Do what?
Country or rock?
Rock. I don't like being depressed.
All right, so guys, give us some of your rapid fire questions, and you'll get the idea. Cruz, you got one?
I don't have anything right now.
Really? You're not gonna ask a question? Oh man. Okay.
It's just the hard ones.
What? Oh, you're just a hard one. Favorite person on the commission right now?
McAllen Commission?
Yeah, McAllen. Yeah, of course. What other commission are we talking about?
Yeah, well, I was thinking county too, but I'd like to say JJ Zamora.
Oh, okay. Who is the one person on the commission you would think you might have a difficult working with, but it's not a big deal?
Probably Javier Villalobos.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have him on tomorrow. We'll ask him the same question. I kind of figured you were going to say that for some reason. I suggested it.
But hold on. There's a caveat there. It's not just because he beat me in a runoff. And
No. It has to do with the immigration center, I think, right? That's probably it.
There's a variety of things, but yeah, it's not. The guy beat me in a race. Don't have a problem saying it. That's not the reason why I disagree with him on a lot of things.
Shaki is asking favorite restaurant. I'm going to be more specific. Favorite chain restaurant in McAllen.
Chain
restaurant.
Local.
Sorry.
Wait. I'm going to ask that the next question. Sorry. Hello. I'm going to give you two specific questions based on the restaurant.
Taco P, even though it breaks my wallet.
Oh, real Taco Palenque?
Yeah, I love Taco.
Wow.
Expensive.
Really? Yeah, Laredo tacos? Really? I'm a little heartbroken here. Well, they're Taco Palenque's from Laredo. I mean, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, man.
No.
Taco P sucker. And Jason's Deli, the other one.
Okay. What is your favorite local restaurant in McAllen?
So our special things that we like to go do are either house wine or salt.
Oh, those are my two favorite. I agree there.
Yeah, those are hard to beat, man.
Yeah.
I haven't tried Salome.
Salome's pretty good. It's a unique experience.
Okay.
It's really good. Same group of people too.
Yeah.
Favorite neighboring city: Mission, Edinburgh, or Far?
I'd say Mission only because of Sherryland. That's where my wife is from. You know, they like to talk about Sherryland like it's its own city, but it's a school district.
That's true.
McAllen ISD. You know?
I figure they might just call it Little Monterrey at this point, but that's Robert's asking Mexican food or Italian food.
I'm a sucker for Mexican food. I like it all, but I like Mexican food.
Leanne is asking tamales or tacos.
Tamales are Delia's, man. You can't beat Delia's.
Oh, okay. Because that was gonna be my next question. Is Delia's overrated? Because I think it is, but that's just my personal opinion.
I mean, it's kind of like the Mr. Popular in the room, but I mean it's good. And I just got off of that with the holidays and all that.
Oh, really?
A lot of good flavors, man.
How many tamales did you eat in all of December? Did you count them?
Me, I didn't count them, but I went through a couple dozen at least.
Okay. Is mustard on top of a Delia's tamale sacrilegious, blasphemous?
You should go to jail if you do that.
Robert's asking.
I can forgive.
Yeah,
and
I'm
not
seeing this
mustard.
question of McAllen Bulldogs or Mustangs, and I gotta call them out. I'm Nicky Rowe, 19.
Yeah, there's a third high school. There's a third high school.
I was the first graduating class, and I was the senior class vice president. I was running for office even back then.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. If people forget, Robert says P.F. Shanks. Next question. Harlingen or San Benito?
Probably Harlingen.
Okay.
Bass Pro Shop, all that stuff.
Tamales with ketchup or without ketchup?
No ketchup.
No, none of that at all. Okay. That was the last offer.
You've got a bad tamale if you need that.
Some people, I was shocked over the December how big ketchup on tamales was. I was shocked. There's mayo tamale. It's crazy.
I have one last one, I think.
Janie's
flour or corn tortillas?
Man, so I'm usually flour, but I've had to start going mixed. So just because I got to watch my waistline, I'm too old. So I'll do like 1 flour, 2 corn. So I'm kind of middle of the road.
That makes sense. Texas.
I got a funny story about tamales though.
Okay. You want to hit? That's fine.
So back at Sophie's, there was when I first took it over, the Winter Texans were really big business because they'd like to have dances and stuff in the afternoons. So I got some tamales out there to feed them for the people that were hungry while they were dancing and whatnot. And this one guy he came up to me furious. He's like, man, this thing is one of the worst things I've ever eaten. I can't, it's so tough. I can't stand it. You know, how do people eat these things? And I was like, well, show me what you're talking about. And the guy didn't know you were supposed to take the husk off of it. So he was biting into this thing, trying to eat the whole deal.
Wow.
And I almost broke a rib laughing so hard. That was a great story.
That happened to Gerald Ford as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny how people don't. I mean, that's one food item that you get north of San Antonio. People don't know what it is at all.
Yeah. So, well, it's because San Antonio doesn't know anything really. They're not South Texas. They're not really Mexican, if you ask me. That's just my personal opinion. Janie is asking, does mayo go on fries?
I'm not in that camp either.
Wow, that's creepy weird. What type of wine? Favorite wine?
Cabernet.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna have a dumb question. Texas Monthly's taco editor or critic or whatever the hell he is claims that Dallas, Texas has the best tacos. Once and for all, I need you on the record. Does Dallas, Texas, in fact, have the best tacos in Texas, or is it really the Rio Grande Valley?
I would say it's absolutely incorrect to say Dallas has the best tacos. Can't beat 956, man.
No, it's insane. It's ridiculous. And so that.
But we determined.
I'm gonna have to ask this question. It is going to be a question that will be asked of every candidate here. I need you on the record that says that the tacos in the Rio Grande Valley are superior to any other place in Texas, and that in fact, I almost want y'all to just get upset at Texas Monthly and never allow them in 956 ever again.
So this is something perfect that you want to have a little fun. This is a perfect thing to start, kind of a food war with the rest of the state. And hopefully it would result in people coming down here and trying some food and whatnot. Why not?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I feel that we need to have every city commission in the Valley have some sort of resolution or proclamation that the taco editor from Texas Monthly never set foot in the Valley. Because how dare you say that? And I think maybe we'll teach that guy a lesson, because this is insane for him to actually say that. And then and just so you know, a former McAllen Bulldog, my friend Elizabeth Bingham, who's the attorney for Dallas County GOP, he was from McAllen, but lives over in Forney now. Has gone to Twitter war with this man, and I will join the forces of evil against, the forces of good against the forces of evil that is this man. Let's go with these Whataburger or Delia's Tamales.
Whataburger. But
Whataburger.
When Whataburger got bought out by those people from Chicago,
I refuse to go.
My heart. It really hurt my heart, man. But they haven't changed anything.
Aggies, Longhorns. Sorry.
I'm a Baylor Bear. I went to Baylor University.
Okay.
So,
next, pet peeve.
Man, like people not washing their hands. I mean, so look, did you ever see the sitcom Monk?
Yes, that's me.
Okay, so I am kind of OCD germaphobe, and so this COVID stuff. Well, first of all, having children kind of brought me back a little bit more to centerline normal, but I'm a germ freak, and little things like people going to the restroom and then touching the door handle without washing their hands. It's just disgusting, especially now. Anyway, I'm a Cleanliness.
Moist or this is a good question. I haven't thought about this one. Moist or lean brisket?
Man, I got to go with a moist, especially at like Rudy's, because that's what gives it the juice. The lean is so dry.
That's a flavor.
You get with the lean, you got to chew it and like swallow it with some water.
Well, it's because you're going to Rudy's. It's not going to be good barbecue. It's subpar barbecue, if you ask me.
Rudy's has good barbecue. I went there.
It's only if like you have nothing else. And for some reason, I don't think McAllen has any barbecue joints. For some reason, I don't care.
Really good.
Where? Who?
Lone Star Barbecue.
Okay, I need to try that place one of these days then, because I didn't think they even had anything. There's, I guess, one place over in Far has one. I think the Smoking Oak over in McAllen and Mercedes is pretty good, and we have one here, 1848 here in Brownsville. Valley Gas, the best tacos. Has. There you go, end of story. I agree.
Oh, has. Oh, Valley.
Okay, yeah, I was like gas. Brownsville has the best tacos. I agree. Just come to Southmost. You'll have no problems getting there. Except don't go to easy to go tacos. Don't go there because I don't like.
Fan.
Texans. Oh wow. Okay, and you're using their colors for your campaign scheme next.
Well, it's also red, white, and blue.
Oh, that's true too. I was trying to like say it wasn't traditional. Cats or dogs?
For sure, dogs, man. Cats are too stuck up, man.
All right, next. Do you agree with Greg Abbott that the sauce is the most important part of the barbecue?
No, good barbecue shouldn't need that much sauce.
Actually, in my personal opinion, any Texan that thinks that the sauce is the best thing should be expelled from Texas because it's about the meat. In Texas, it's always been about the meat and what's on the meat. If you want to go to sauce, go to Virginia, go to South Carolina where they have to suffer with crap subpar barbecue. All right, let's go with those two questions. Okay. Waffles or pancakes?
Pancakes for sure.
Pancakes.
Man, I'm a sucker for pancakes and syrup.
All right. Where do you think? I asked this question. Where do you think Elvis Presley had his birthday breakfast when it was his birthday earlier this week? A Waffle House or Denny's? Where do you think he was at? Because he's obviously alive. We all know it.
In spirit, I'd have to say maybe a Waffle House.
Absolutely.
I love Waffle House.
Let's go to those two questions that we didn't answer with regards from Oscar, if that's okay. And Janie's question. Janie's is a very basic question. Where can people help you and contact you to help your campaign?
All right. So I have not officially, you can't even file the paperwork yet. So
you can. You can file the campaign treasurer for it. In fact, I would recommend every single candidate that has not filed that.
I did that on the 23rd of December.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I contacted the McAllen and nobody could tell me if there was any campaign treasurers or not. I contacted them last Monday at the city secretary.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some issues going on with their processing, but the actual candidate packet can't be turned in until like the 12th, which is
tomorrow, right? Tomorrow.
I'm going to be announcing in about a week. There's some things I want to get polished up formally before we launch it all. But I put my cell phone out on all the posts. There's going to be McAllenstraighttalk.com, Wilkins for McAllen.com, my cell phone. Facebook is obviously going to be a pretty important platform to disseminate information. You can also,
assuming you don't get banned at some point, because Facebook will do that to every conservative out there.
There's not going to be anything that spicy, I hope, coming up on that feed. But those are the main things. My phone will be out there. And with COVID going on, the best thing somebody can do for me is give me a couple minutes of their time, ask me a question that's important to them, just reach out. I'm kind of against the whole reaching out and texting and bothering people that may not want to be bothered because you don't know what people have going on in their lives, their time constraints and whatnot. But in post-COVID world, block walking is not going to be something you can do real easy either because I wouldn't be too big on a bunch of people knocking on my door right now that I don't know myself.
Yeah.
So people that are engaged and interested, have issues they want to talk about, want to just touch and feel the personality, that the one-on-one stuff would be great if people are willing to just engage for a few minutes.
Yeah, and this is one reason why we're doing what we're doing here at Real Politics, and we believe in it. I believe in it. Myra does. Cruz. This is why we want to do this for candidates not to have to do block walking. We're not in one side or another. We're friendly with everybody. We want to be everybody's buddy, and have these type questions. Hopefully we can have you on again and have more specific questions as we get closer. This is more of an introduction. I try to do at least two interviews with people. We did that during the general election for candidates that were interested in coming on.
Sure.
Okay. Oscar had a question. I don't recall what it was. Cruz, if you can find it for us, that'd be great. Oh, there it is. What are your thoughts on this? The city Mercedes choice of having Mr. K. Pagan from McAllen and as interim city manager? Have any opinion on that?
I mean, obviously, you want to see people do well in their personal lives. The only concern that I have is, when you had the departure of Mayor Darling, who's been there for almost 50 years. I think it's 43, 47 years. Pagan was in the city attorney's office for decades himself. There's a vacuum of information, of just historical and operational things that get lost when you lose people like that. And when you consider the fact that McAllen is going to have District 1, 2, 3, and 6 are turning over, and a new mayor with, I guess 2 of the mayoral candidates are current city commissioners. There's just a lot of things that are gonna change, and
right.
A city attorney has a lot of, he knows everything that the city's doing, good and bad, skeletons in the closet, good things, bad things, economic development. So I think it's dangerous to a degree for that type of information to be utilized for a competing city. But Pagan took a temporary job, and we'll see how long he's there. But Simon Malls they own those outlet centers now, those outlet malls. So they've got a big presence in Mercedes. Simon Malls has the mall here. There's just there's a lot of damage that can be done when you have economic development things in play, and people leverage that information to benefit other cities. It's happened with our bridge operations, with people that are working for other taxing entities. That's one of my rubs with Villalobos, but I won't get into that.
Yeah, no worries. That's fine. We'll have him on tomorrow, and hopefully he'll be able to give us more. And again, we're not endorsing anybody as a real politician endorse. We're not doing that. Myra may, because she lives in McAllen, and she may want to say who she wants to. But as real politicians, doesn't plan on endorsing, because that's not our job. Our job is to help people see the news. I'll have 2 final questions. My first question is, what is there something that we didn't talk about that you feel strongly about that we haven't talked about? No?
I don't know. Well, so here's a personal issue I can get into. So one of the things that I got really beat up over last time, I basically, short story, caught a guy breaking into my office. And it was a few days before my second son was about to be born. And the guy threatened to kill me, basically. The whole call was on 911, and he sped away. The 911 officer asked, or the intake person on the phone asked me to get the license plate and a better description of the car. So I did a 3-point turn and followed the guy out of our business park right there on 10th and Martin. And he had sped away so fast, he actually wrecked into oncoming traffic. He got out of his car, was threatening he was going to kill me again. So I showed a handgun, and I knelt behind my car and waited for the police to respond, and they came. Throughout that whole process, for whatever reason, McAllen PD arrested me for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and let the other guy go. And,
wow.
And it turns out that guy had a rap sheet of about 12 items. He had drug charges, weapons charges, assaults with weapons, all kinds of things. But for whatever reason, they took me in. And that case, it was dropped. There was no trial. There was no prosecution. There was no nothing. My record is clean. But my mugshot's out there, and that all circulated. And it really, for somebody who doesn't know who you are, when you see a mugshot of a guy and it says aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and you don't know the circumstances behind it, it gives reason for.
Have you been able to scrub it at all? Like, to be.
I didn't want to scrub it, and here's why. It was a wrongful arrest. Okay, an officer stepped out of bounds and did something that was just wrong, and it was over a disagreement over something he thought that I had told him, which I didn't, which is really immaterial. But my mugshot's out there. It circulated through everybody's hands last election. If I go and expunge it, it makes it look like I'm trying to hide something. And then you open yourself up to, hey, who did he pay to have it expunged? Why is he trying to hide it? You know what? It's an unfortunate event. It happened. All I can tell you is that nobody got hurt. I've never hurt anybody physically. I have been involved in a good bit of litigation for business-related matters, me as a plaintiff. because of the property tax work and things that I do, and we take it to the court system because in a civilized society, that's where disputes go. You go to the courts. You don't try to solve it individually with your bare hands or anything. So that arrest thing is something that I think is going to pop up again, where people try to put a false narrative to it to just assassinate character if you're viewed as a threat. And I think I'm going to be viewed as a threat in the sense that I'm going to try to win this race and I'm going to be popular with people. But, you know, that's what it is. So it's there. That's one thing I didn't address, and one thing I will be addressing on the campaign trail too. So people are aware. It's not something, I mean, I'm obviously not excited about it. There's other things I'd rather talk about, but it's there.
People will bring it up, and I didn't know about this. So I'm glad that you brought this up to our attention. So if somebody brings it up, we'll be able to say, hey, that's, you know, not defend you, but I don't like fake news. I really don't like it. There's no reason to have fake news.
Yeah, and so I flip it on other people too this way. I say, look, if you really think that narrative, the negative narrative that you're pushing is accurate, then why don't I have a criminal record? Why is there not any activity of anything like that out there? I don't even have a speeding ticket on my criminal history. So, but I get it. You know, people like to try to latch onto something, and you know, it is low hanging fruit, but it is what it is.
My last question is I was going to ask before, but I asked the last question first. Are you running in some sort of a slate? Is there a team that you're running? I know some cities in the Mid Valley are real big on slates. We had a situation a couple of years ago here in Brownsville where there was some sort of a slate at an official slate of candidates. Are you planning on doing that?
No, and McAllen has traditionally not used the slate thing, and it's been for good reason, but this is what's happening in this race, and I'm not going to lay out a roadmap really. I'll let you guys put some things together, and if you want input, I'll give it to you. But there are slates being run in this race in the sense that you have people cutting deals for support with other people running for higher offices, saying that, hey, if you can help me take your seat over, I can help try to turn this district for you in the mayor's race or whatever the case may be. Those deals are being made, and they're going to happen. It's to the detriment of the constituents because, again, with that low voter turnout, when people play those games, you get a false result in that somebody gets elected that probably shouldn't. But this type of platform where you have the opportunity to push and pull on somebody's got to talk to you for an hour and a half and string sentences and ideas together and make sense. You're going to see who's got the mustard and who doesn't. And that's the beauty of this. So
and I would appreciate you sharing it, not just because it helps our viewership, it also helps our page, but it helps you. And that's what I've told everybody that I've talked to. As I told Veronica, Commissioner Whitaker, and I told Commissioner Villalobos, I've told you, that's what this is for. So any candidates out there that want to come on, even especially there in McAllen, because there is nothing like this in McAllen.
No, this is wonderful, man. I'm really glad you reached out. I'm glad to be able to participate in it. You know, and it's just good. You know, the free exchange of ideas and just letting people. I hope people watch it and hear it and listen.
Yeah. So just share it on your page and help. Clip it up. Hey, this was a question that was asked. It's your job to. It doesn't seem like it's a campaign. It's not coming from you. It's coming. You know, this happened and it's great. Hopefully you can come back again. I'm very serious about doing forums for you all. And it doesn't have to be in the normal time slot. We can do it in a different day, maybe a Saturday during the day or however works for you all. I'm willing to help because I think it's important. I know Myra matters because Myra's going to vote in your race and vote in the mayor's race.
I don't think so. I'm on Hackberry and.
Oh no, I think you're like.
I'm not.
I'm south. 6. You're 5 or 6. I remember your house.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought you were 1. Well, I know there's a lot of people that are.
But I would still help.
Party thought. Party thought. I'm going to run my race kind of citywide, primarily because these districts you're represented by a district, but the decisions you make impact the entire city. So
exactly.
Whether Myra lives in my district or not, you're going to know somebody that does live in D1, and just the positive word of mouth of, hey man, talk to this guy for a couple of minutes or watch a couple of these little videos he put out and see if he, hit sparks anything within you, any kind of interest. that's extremely important, and all the money in the world can't buy that type of one-on-one contact.
Absolutely.
So that's why I want to push citywide, and that's why that's important. So
Well, don't go away, Tim. I'm just gonna say goodbye to everybody, but don't go away. We usually because some people just leave and like, no, don't leave. We weren't ready for you to leave. So guys, thank you for joining with us at our new. Tim was our first guest at the new 8 o'clock hour podcast show time. Yay! We'll see you all tonight if you like to at 11 o'clock for Real Talk, Real Late, and we'll talk national politics and whatever you all want to talk about. And it'll be fun. So God bless each and every one of you, and we'll see you all tonight at 11. And if you can't join us at 11, make sure you join us tomorrow at 8 o'clock for an interview with Commissioner Javier Villalobos, who is running for McAllen mayor. So we'll see you all either tonight at 11 or tomorrow at 8. God bless. Bye.
Good night.
I'm going for my office.